Well, I gave the internet a choice, and between watching me stream a Jurassic Park game from 1998, Windows 97, y'all, and having me talk about Red versus Blue for the next 30 minutes of my life, you guys said you wanted me to talk about Red versus Blue. And I can't say I wasn't expecting it, given that a good chunk of my Twitter followers are Rooster Teeth people. Hi guys, I love you. I absolutely should have expected the results of that poll. And because it's situationally correct is not the phrase that I'm looking for. Relevant. Situationally relevant. Because it is April Fool's Day 2017. It is the 14th anniversary of Rooster Teeth as a company, and season 15 starts tomorrow. For sponsors, insert sponsorship plug here, do the thing, win the stuff. Come on guys, you get to watch stuff a week early and it's nice. So yeah, so I have the cat next to me and she's gonna complain if I move my left arm any, so. Yeah? No? Maybe? Alright, she's my little co-host on this. And I'm gonna talk for a little bit about Red versus Blue. Believe it or not, I was not actually in the series from the beginning. It actually took me about a decade to really get into it. The first time I saw it was, I want to say it was like summer 2004. I was at a summer program at Stanford, which sounds a lot more intellectual than it actually was, but it turns out the creative writing subset of that program was a lot of reading, not a lot of actual exercises or discussion. It was not a great... But I was there with a friend. We had a computer lab because what were laptops at that point, aside from really super expensive for the most part? And we walked in on someone watching these videos, and I knew enough to recognize Halo, but had no idea what they were talking about. And I don't remember much from that, because it would have been season 1, still on the internet, before YouTube was a thing. Didn't become aware of YouTube until my senior year of high school, which for those of you keeping track at home was 2006. Yeah, do the dates. I have dated myself. It's nuts. Yeah, we were watching them watch this episode. I'm like, what is this? Oh, some guys made this in Halo. Okay. And what stuck with me is, you ever wonder why we're here? Because we have 14 seasons worth of writing. And I still think that is one of the best season introductions and probably one of the best series introductions that I have ever seen. Partially because it keeps coming back, and partially because it's got a really good setup and then a turn, and it explains the whole series in about a minute and a half, going from this big philosophical debate into, no, I was wondering about right here and right now. Seriously, what the hell is this? It was a very strong start for the series, and for something that remained off my radar for a good chunk of time after that, that still stuck with me. You ever wonder why we're here? The next time I ran across it was about a year and a half later, and one of my friends had gotten a hold of the season 1 DVD, you know, from GameStop, way back when. It's not like the 5 Nights at Freddy's video where we have 3 years of nostalgia. This is 14 fucking years of this series, y'all. It's spanned some very different points in my life. And I sat down and watched it with her because she thought it was absolutely hilarious. And I'm like, okay, cool. Vaguely recognized the first, 10, 15 minutes of it, because the first few episodes. And then it just went from there, and I got lost about halfway through, partially because I was just not as into it as she was, and partially because when you're watching the first few seasons in full season DVD format, there's a lot that just kind of goes, okay, this is happening. That's a lot for the first time watching it, and I've actually noticed that because I have been dragging a lot of my friends into this as, oh, have you seen Red versus Blue? Great, let's watch some of the seasons together. And I know what's coming, so I'm into it. And they get, about half an hour in and kind of start losing, what's their name? What are we talking about? How does this make sense? Like, it's not an easy series to go head first into, at least in my experience. And so I remember I enjoyed it. I remember having a grand old time, but it was still just like, this is a thing. This is the thing made from Halo. And it was still kind of in my periphery. I went to college. I started rooming with Megan. She was into it. It was for a good chunk of time, or for, let's be real, It started off more her thing than mine. She was into it a lot longer than I was, and she's been into it for a longer time than I have been. I'm the sort of person who gets into a fandom, decides I like it, and then go nuts. Like, that is how I do things. She tends to be slow and steady wins the race. I tend to be small nuclear explosions of interest. And sometimes I stay, and sometimes I move on, and I've stayed with this one. And that's... This and Kingdom Hearts, man, there are some things that you just don't let go. I started rooming with her. I remember watching her watch season 6 live, and just have this moment of... And I'm like, okay. I remember junior year, this would have been senior year at this point. Junior year of college, going over to a friend's apartment, Megan going as well, and her having Red versus Blue weekends, because at this point you could get seasons 1 through 5 on a box set. And so we'd put them on and we'd sit down and we'd do as much of our homework as we could and still concentrate while this was on. And I'm absolute beans at concentrating when there's dialogue happening. I can do music just fine, but if someone's talking, I'm like, hello, there are words. Which is why I can't do the radio and make a phone call at the same time. My brain blue screens. It's kind of amazing. And I think we got through seasons 1 through 5 a couple of times that year, which is a lot when you're doing them back to back to back to back. That is, what, like 7, 8 hours of content just all in a row. So it's a little crazy. Yeah, hi, how you doing? And then senior year, we'd all gotten the same apartment together, and they'd gotten a hold of season 6 on Blu-ray, on DVD rather. I don't even know if Blu-ray was a thing at that point. What year is it? Yeah, hi. And I remember them starting it up and me going, well, this is interesting. Well, I'm gonna go take care of some stuff. I'll be back. And Megan telling me later that she was kind of disappointed. Like, this is one of the best seasons. Where are you going? I thought you liked this. It's more your thing than it is mine. You know, fast forward how many years. I don't think I really got into Red versus Blue in terms of sitting down and getting invested and really keeping up with everything until I want to say midway through season 8. Because I remember watching that season finale on the website. So I think that had to have been about the right time. And then season 9 was when I discovered the fandom. It took me that long. And it took me forever, I want to say 2-3 years, not only to figure out season 6, but to keep the chronology of events in the same order. Like, wait, that happened that season? When did that happen? How did that, who was that? For some reason, I could just not wrap my mind around season 6. And it wasn't because of the reveal, it was just for some reason, my brain refused to put it together for years. I had to write it out at one point, like have the wiki page open and reword it, and now it's like, okay, now I know season 6. Now I've got this. That I've had to write it out in several thousand words. Like, okay, all right, I'm good. And I discovered the fandom in the middle of season 9. And seasons 9 and 10 for me are kind of the interesting seasons. They're not bad, but I will say that my favorite season, full stop, is season 8. And it's still season 8. I need to rewatch 12 and 13 again and see if that opinion has changed. But if I'm like, I want some Red versus Blue, I want to just sit down and put it on while I'm cleaning the house or paying my taxes or whatever. That's a lot. I watched La La Land while I was paying my taxes. The taxes were more interesting. But that's the one that I put on when I just want something to listen to that is Red versus Blue flavored. So going into seasons 9 and 10 and being like, we're getting Freelancer stuff. We have Monty on the team. We're getting animation. It's going to be great. And then having what was obviously a very difficult balance of Blood Gulch shenanigans and Freelancer stuff. We needed 3 seasons in that arc, to be completely honest. Not on the Blood Gulch side, because I think we had trouble trying to get enough on that side. Season 9 had some really fun character moments in the Epsilon unit, but aside from learning to say goodbye, there wasn't much on the Blood Gulch side. Season 10 was very solid on the Blood Gulch side. I appreciated all of that. I loved the character growth. I loved all the elements of it. That was great. The actual Freelancer content needed 3 seasons because it was pretty well paced in season 9, and in season 10 they realized they had 10 pounds of plot and a 5-pound bag, and it kind of shows. I would be surprised if there weren't some things that they wanted to show that they couldn't show because time restrictions, animation restrictions, just things that you can't do when your studio is kind of small and you don't have a lot of animators. Because Rooster Teeth has had a lot of growing pains. And some of their stuff's been really, really great, and some of their stuff has suffered for it. It's never been bad. It's just, you can kind of tell. This is when they were in their element and they knew what they were doing. This is when they were experimenting. And this is when they had the same writing team on 2 different flagship shows at the same time. I don't think Miles Luna slept for a year. Like, I don't think he did around season 12. I don't think Miles slept. He's a great human being. I just don't know how he runs on no sleep and all of the plot. Like, how do you do that? Which explains why he's not doing Red versus Blue anymore, I think, and why the focus is on Ruby, because Ruby's huge. Red versus Blue is also huge, but in a very different way. And if you can only do one project, you do the one that you've been in since the beginning and leave the reins for the other project and someone who's very capable. Plus, it's not the first time Red versus Blue has changed hands, and it's a fun series. It'll survive. It'll survive the apocalypse. But yeah, I think I would have had a very different opinion on 9 and 10 if I hadn't discovered the fandom at that point. Because on one hand, and most of this discovery was through Tumblr because that was its heyday. That's when things were really big. That's when it was, for me, a lot easier to make friends and you run into the fun people less frequently. And I got into the Red versus Blue fandom, and I made some friends that I am still friends with, and I made friends who are wonderful, lovely human beings, and you know who you are because I still talk with you and we go to RTX together and life is great. Like, y'all know who you are. But I also ran into some people who, to put it lightly, were more willing to see the negative over the positive when it comes to a lot of media. And I will not sit here and tell you that Red versus Blue doesn't have problems. Like, come on, guys. It does. It's never been good at women, for starters. And it's one of those things. They improve, but they improve slowly, and they're working on it, but they're not perfect. They're never gonna be perfect, but it is better. I mean, look at seasons 1 through 5 in terms of content, and look at seasons 12 through 13 in terms of content. It's better. And considering that there were still issues with 9 and 10, considering that there were issues with the depiction of Carolina and York's relationship to her, and how a lot of this stuff worked out, and how South was depicted, how we only ever saw her be like the angry bitch. Like, yeah, that's because we have a very, very small window of time, and animation is difficult and expensive. So again, I think Freelancer just needed more time so we could see a lot more of what was happening. So we could see season 14, you know, my left arm for Freelancer flashbacks. And it was so easy just to fall in with these people who sounded like they knew what they were talking about. They were very convincing, and it was a small feedback loop. And it took me a very long time to realize that, probably longer than it should have. And I will say that, yeah, being involved with that aspect of the fandom did change my opinion of that season. And I don't know, like, now that I'm aware of the issues, you know, you can't unsee that. I don't know if it would have been a different, well, it probably would have been a different experience had I watched it without the input from some of these members of the fandom, and I have since decided that, nah, I don't want to deal with it, I don't want to talk about it, I don't want to spend time on these people who look at something I love and can only see the negative aspects of it, and are still watching it for some reason, but would rather complain about how this is bad and this is bad and this isn't working and this is poor representation and this isn't good and this, like, yeah, I know. And we can discuss it, but we can also enjoy it. And they didn't seem to be able to enjoy it. And so for the most part, I have, you know, cut them out of my fandom interaction and cut them out of my life, and they still kind of show up because we have a Venn diagram overlap with other friends, and that's fine. But it's just like, oh, it's a post from this person. That explains why it's really well written, has a really good point, and is overwhelmingly negative sometimes. Ooh. I think I unfollowed one of them in the middle of the second season of Ruby. We were doing an after show at that point. That's when we started the Ruby after show, was the beginning of season 2. And I just watched the week's episode. I'm like, yeah, I really enjoyed it. Oh God, I wonder what this person has to say about it. And that's the point when I realized I should probably not be friends with that person any longer, because it's ruining my enjoyment of what I like of my shows and not providing very much constructive. And I've realized since then that I do have friends where I can have that, yeah, you know, I wish we were better at women. Yeah, I wish we'd gotten more for this character. Yeah, I wish there was this. But it also comes with equal amounts of, did you see the animation on that? Oh my God, the fight choreography was great. Did you watch that reveal? Did you see how this went down? Did anyone notice this little moment where this happened? I loved that. Oh my God. People who can appreciate the positivity and still understand where there's room for growth, as opposed to just, this is bad, and you should feel bad for liking it. Like, and this has kind of started turning into a talk about fandom as a whole, because I'm definitely in a few other fandoms where this is a thing that occurs a lot. I'll name drop things later, but y'all know what I do after shows for. Y'all know the fandoms that I interact with. I'm talking about Voltron. Let's be real. I'm talking about the Voltron fandom. In terms of, if you don't like the fandom and you think that interacting with people is ruining your enjoyment of the show and is making you anxious and unhappy, drop them. They're people on the internet. It's a fandom. You will live without it. You keep the people who make your life better, and you don't keep the people who make your life worse. And sometimes it takes a lot of time to come to that realization, and for me, I wound up in the situation because of Red versus Blue, and I also hit that point and hit that realization because of Red versus Blue, because of continuing to interact with the fandom and realizing whose commentary I appreciated and whose commentary just made me feel like an ass for liking the episode. I don't really need the latter version. So there was that. So I pretty much kind of cleaned that up by the time we hit season 11, and season 11 was kind of like season 7 in that it functioned more as a return to form. We gave you some really difficult, heavy stuff this last season. Take some time to breathe, and also by the end of the season we're going to prove to you that everything is still hell. Okay? Okay! Like, 7 and 11 were both really good at that. Because 7 ended with Wash going off the deep end and Donut being dead. Dead. And 11 gave us Schrodinger's Wash, which we got that twice in 2 seasons. I'm laughing now. He has the world's best luck, but only in terms of, is he going to live through this shit or not? That's when he has really good luck. The entire rest of his life is like, oh, honey. I have a favorite, can you tell? Yes, hi. Hi, you gonna put your butt in my video and that's it? No? Okay. The downsides of having a cat as your co-host. They're very vocal, but they don't contribute much. Yeah. So watching 11, it was interesting seeing the mixed reaction, seeing some people go, yes, this is amazing, and some people go, why are we back at machinima? Why aren't we animating? Because it's expensive and takes time. That's always my favorite bit about this fandom, is people going, we need more animation, we need more of this, we need more of that. And I really don't think people understand how production works. And admittedly, Rooster Teeth, and especially Red vs. Blue, has a very different model of production because they churn out a season in a year, which is nuts. Your usual animation pipeline has things being written, we're going to go back to Voltron now. They have multiple seasons written already. They've had stuff in animation for forever. Like, the mythical season 3 that's going to happen in August was probably written 2 years ago, at least. Rooster Teeth doesn't work that way. They do their own little crazy thing, but even then, they still have a pipeline. It's not like it's written and recorded in the same day. And so to see people go, oh, why isn't this animated? Why don't we have more animation? Because Red vs. Blue is still at its heart a wildly sprawling Halo AU fanfiction. And part of that is keeping the machinima. And let's be real, the machinima is charming. And they have absolutely figured out what to do with it and how it works. And the screw-ups are even better. I will forever love the blooper reel of trying to flip a warthog onto the base. And I realize that's like season 2 or season 3. And it's still amazing just watching it fail over and over and over and over because machinima is hilarious. And the behind the scenes on machinima is just even better. So watching season 11, realizing we have these new characters, that everything is a lot bigger than we started out with, but also getting these really great character moments. We have the red team, who is just they're kind of our cornerstone of this series. Blue team problems is just plot and insanity, and red team is still going to continue to be our emotional and humor core. Like, for the most part, they're there, they're fine, they're gonna work with this. They may or may not have a Spanish-speaking robot on hand. That changes by the season. But red team's kind of our cornerstone. And blue team has their drama, including Wash still trying to adjust because, you know, it's been months, maybe a year, not a lot of time to get all this figured out. And what I love is that when we have the machinima, when we have not, how do I put this? We have really big fight scenes. We have really big action set pieces, and they're half animated and half machinima, and they're fucking beautiful. But I love the quieter moments. I love when we get to have conversations. I love when we get to have character development and character depth to these people because we've known them for years on end at this point. It's nuts. And being able to see how they develop and getting different parts of their personalities that we haven't seen before, that haven't been emphasized before, and seeing how knowing this cast of characters, them knowing each other and them being through all of this shit together has changed them. It's just a lot of fun to watch. And I'm the sort of person where you put a piece of media in front of me and it's like, here's the biggest, shiniest thing ever, but it doesn't have a good story. Like, I never went to see Avatar. Dances with Wolves in Space with Blue Smurfy Cat people is just like, I don't care. It's a terrible story. I don't care how shiny it is. But I've been sitting here watching Red vs. Blue, even when everyone's like, oh, machinima, but we have animation, why don't we? Because the characters are amazing. If you throw a really good plot and really good characters at me, I don't care if it's fucking stick figures. I am in it. I'm in it to win it. That's not everything I like is pretty to look at, but damn if it doesn't have heart. And then season 12 was when we started the after show. Oh, good lord, that was nuts. Was it season? I legitimately don't remember if the after show started halfway through season 12 or halfway through season 13. Like, where is my brain on this? I think it was halfway through 13. We got through 12. 12 was glorious. 12 was nuts to watch. 12 had one of the best twists that I've seen in media. Which, yes please. And then 13 was actually when reaction videos started, because the first episode of season 13 was beautifully animated, was amazing to watch, and if I remember correctly, it was around Caesar's birthday, and he asked the fandom for reaction videos. Record yourself watching this episode, put them up. And I missed the impetus on that. I don't even remember what I was doing. I was out of town or busy or something was happening. But I kind of joined in on that train later on, which you watch the really old reaction videos on this channel. They're terrible. I did them with the webcam that was on the computer that was already a few years old. Like, yeah, video and audio quality. There's a reason I have a soft spot for things that look bad but have heart. That's half my channel. But yeah, watching that and realizing, okay, the game has changed yet again. This is gonna get nuts. And then becoming a reactor, doing these reaction videos by myself, bringing Megan into them, doing them with her, interacting with a bunch of people that I don't think I would have met were it not for doing reaction videos. Hi there, I love you all. I know some of you are here through the reaction videos, and I don't know how that happened, but I appreciate you. Yeah, hi. And then, I want to say that halfway through 13 is when we started doing the after show. Because there weren't many episodes, but we did have Miles on for all of them, because Miles was absolutely gung-ho to do them, and let's be real, can we have you on every show that we do once a month? Is an hour a month. Then again, at that point I'm pretty sure Miles doesn't sleep, so he sacrificed one of those hours of not sleeping to come on and talk with us. And we had so much great stuff came from that show. Gray's Locust impersonation using the water glass, and his love of magical girl anime. Just, I'd need to go back and rewatch them. Evidently, I called how Felix was going to die by making a joke about wanting to throw him off a cliff. Like, the after shows were crazy. Really good interviews, ton of fun to talk about. And the season itself, really, it's up there with season 8 for me. Really good pacing, really good character. Just a lot of fun to watch. Long, but the ends of plot lines for Red versus Blue seasons are always like an hour longer than everything else in the... Like, season 5 was, what, 2.5 hours? And season 8 was a little longer, but I don't think it hit the 2-hour mark like a lot of ones do. Season 10 was 2 hours. Season 13 was 2 hours. Like, it's always at the end of a plot where it's like, let's just make the episodes really long and let's go with it. So I'm assuming 15 is where we're starting. Season 18, I'm assuming, will be 2.5 hours long, because we seem to work in arcs of 2 and 3. And just watching 13 go, watching yet another really good twist with Locust and Felix, and being able to step back and going, oh, and looking at all the writing from the past 2 seasons and going, oh no, this has been developing the whole time. We just didn't have the whole story. Doyle's death, Kimball's speech after it, and then the ending, and not knowing. Megan hates ambiguous endings. Like, unambiguously, she hates them. And I always kind of have a soft spot for them, because if they're done poorly, well then you just couldn't think of an ending, sit down. But if they're done well, it's a lot of fun to just kind of pick it up and run. And this week, we talked about this with A Handmaid's Tale. It has an ambiguous ending because of the medium that it's told in, because of the conceit of the story. And it drives Megan crazy, and I'm like, nope, I can just paint myself a happy ending and call it a day, and nobody can call me wrong. Yeah, I'm that kind of person. And so I loved that the conceit of this story was that this was from Church's point of view. And we'd had AI time from him before, so this isn't the first time that we've stepped back and looked at things from the point of view of the resident AI. And I love that we just had the last few minutes from his point of view, and we didn't get to see the end because he didn't get to see the end. And it's something that's really hard to watch the first time when you don't know it's coming, because then it's just like, you're leaving it there. This is where we're stopping. Why? But being able to think back on it and actually consider it, like, this I appreciate. This, I really liked that. And I honestly think that nothing that they could have written or created or animated would have lived up to what we think happened. We had huge climactic battles in the past 2-3 episodes. I mean, they dropped a fucking spaceship on Locust and Felix. That's hard to beat. The Super Smash Brothers battle, that whole that's hard to beat. And so trying to do that in the very last episode, in the last few minutes, I don't know that it could have lived up to that. And I've seen good interpretations of that, and I've seen very, very bad end interpretations of that. Like, I saw beautiful art that just broke my fucking heart. So it's... I have cat hair in my throat. That's your fault. You know that, right? Yeah. 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 So it's a good ending. And of course we go on because they have straight up said that they will continue to make Red versus Blue as long as we're watching it, and here we fucking are, y'all. I do like that they went with a break. I do like that they took some time to try to figure out what they were going to do next, that we had a whole lot of other things we could do for season 14. I'm divided on my opinions of season 14. Because, I mean, there were some episodes that were great, and there were some episodes that were just like, this is a thing, and it's occurring. I thought, given the trailer, given the fact that it's an anthology, and given the first 3 episodes of the season, that we were going to have a lot more in-universe, filling in the gaps, exploring more characters, exploring side stuff. Like, I thought that was what we were going to go for with season 14, with a couple of AUs in there for funsies. And the series was very, very heavy on the AUs, with just a few little, why are you doing that? I love you. Why are you, I love my cat. She's so distracting. And so it was interesting to watch it, but sitting back and looking at it and going, okay, you gave us a trailer with the full Freelancer cast and the knowledge that we didn't get to see everything that you had planned out for Freelancer. And then we have 2 Freelancer episodes, and they're these 3 characters that we've never seen before. And canon lesbians, thank you, Shannon McCormick, just thank you. And so I will say that I'm disappointed in that respect, because I was hoping for more Freelancers. I was hoping for a little more background. I was hoping for more other missions that we didn't get a chance to see, getting a look inside of Maine's head while Sigma was taking it over, seeing more of Wash between the plane crash and becoming Recovery 1. Just, I wanted more fill in the gaps from that, and we didn't get very much of that. I did love the first 3 episodes. That really brought a lot of the Blood Gulch stuff together and really helped solidify the foundation for that. Those 3 episodes were great. I love the Merc trilogy. Everyone loved the Merc trilogy. This is not like, I love the Merc trilogy. Yeah, also I heard the sky is blue. It was pretty damn good too, so you know, there's good reason to love it. Caboose's Guide to Making Friends with the pun on making. The Brick Gulch Chronicles. Just, there was a lot of it that was very true to the spirit of the series, but I would have loved a lot more in-universe, please explain these things, we're missing a lot of answers, please, sort of episodes, and we were a little short on those. And that's life. That's, I guess, what happens with an anthology season. Not everyone's going to be able to play in-world. We're just going to do what we can. Sarge 3 was a ton of fun. They're just, I liked season 14. I'm glad we're going back to the plot. I've missed plot. I enjoy plot. We've had a nice conversation about how much I enjoy plot over nearly everything else in the medium. And so it'll be interesting to see how season 15 turns out. Because we have a new writer-director at the helm. And we have a new perspective on the story and a new chapter on things. And our, you know, 1-paragraph blurb is the Reds and Blues are wanted criminals and there's been a murder spree across the galaxy, and we have this group of, you know, this small group of press people trying to chase them down and figure out what the story is. And I'm sitting here looking at this trailer and going, it's a group of impersonators, right? Right? Because that is Church Blue Armor, and Church is gone. And there's been a lot of publicity about the Reds and Blues because of taking down Freelancer, and then because of the mess on Chorus. Like, this isn't the whole story. And I'm willing to bet that this isn't them. It's a bunch of people pretending to be them. So we'll see. Should be interesting. I will probably come back to this when season 15 is over and kind of laugh, because outdated predictions. It's always fun watching old videos and going, wow, I had no idea back then. But yeah, this is a series that has been with me for a chunk of time in one way or another, whether I was actually paying attention to it or not. And it's another fandom where I've made friends through this. And there's not a lot of fandoms that I can say that for, that have been that long running, where I've met people that I've been friends with for years and will probably continue to be friends with for years. I mean, Kingdom Hearts is one of those. Red vs. Blue is another. I'm sure there are more, but my brain is just like, we're talking about Red vs. Blue now, nothing else matters. And that happens. So yeah, that's it. That is my long-running history with the Soldiers in a Box Canyon in the middle of fuck all nowhere. And I'm interested to hear about yours. What was the first time you watched the series? What was the season that you were introduced in? Did you find it yourself? Did a friend drag you into it? Did you just stumble upon it on YouTube and be like, hey, what the hell is this? Have you been to RTX? Have you met people through your love of Red vs. Blue and Rooster Teeth that you have stuck with, that have become long-running friends? Like, what are your stories that have to do with this? That's what I want to hear. That's what I want to see in the comments down here. So if you got something fun to say, if you want to talk about Red vs. Blue, or if you want to just throw wild predictions as to what season 15 is going to be, throw them in the comments below. Should be a fun discussion. In the meantime, if you want to follow me, I am on all of the social medias at Kiaxet, that is Kiaxet, same as this channel. I'm also on the Snapchat at Kia Prime. I'm trying to do a little more of that, but let's be real, it's going to be a lot of cat videos, mostly on Sundays, because that is how I live my life. If you want to support this channel, we have a Ko-fi that is linked in the description below. You are not obligated, but I would really super appreciate it because ad revenue, not really a thing. I've made $2.50 from ad revenue on this channel. Yay! So if you'd like to support me via the Ko-fi, you can do that. If you would like to commission me for a video, I don't do requests, but I do commissions. The information for that is also in the description below. If there's something you want me to react to, if there's a topic you want me to talk about, hit me up. We'll talk about commissions. It'll be a super fun time. We're going to start doing Red vs. Blue reactions for season 15, of course. I'm really looking forward to this. And yeah, hit me up in the comments, hit me up on Twitter. Let's talk about things. Let's talk about all things Rooster Teeth, because there are a lot of things to talk about in all things Rooster Teeth. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. And of course the cat has left. She went upstairs and left me.